Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another concert review. This time I am going to do a 2-for-1 because on Friday, the 26th of May, and then Saturday, the 27th, I had the great privilege of seeing one of my favorite bands, the Avett Brothers, perform at the Filing Center in Wolf Trap, which is the only national park dedicated to the performing arts. And proudly, it is located in my state of Virginia, up near DC. So very cool. My first time at the venue. It's an outdoor amphitheater, but it has a beautiful covered part of it. But there's also a huge lawn that people will picnic on and just have a good time. Beautiful venue, wonderful grounds. Like not enough good things to say about the beauty and the atmosphere and the sound quality at Wolf Trap. Fantastic. And that's whether or not it was the Wolf Brothers or not the Wolf Brothers. That's the Grateful Dead, Bob Weir, the Avett Brothers. Um, so before this, I had seen the Avett Brothers twice. Once in Charlottesville, Virginia, and the other time in Greensboro, North Carolina. So this was my third and fourth time viewing the Avett Brothers. And for those of you that don't know who the Avett Brothers are, this is them. This is a beautiful print, actually, that my boss at work gave me for my birthday, created with song titles from their tunes. So you have the younger brother right here, Seth, and then you have Scott. Over here, Scott mostly plays banjo, but also plays guitar, harmonica. Seth plays guitar and sings a lot of the higher harmonies. Wonderful guys from Concord, North Carolina. So fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. I'll just get that out of the way. It was one of those weekends where I didn't want to come home because nothing feels like it really matters after a show like that. They did a lot of deep cuts, and this is really only going to be relevant to Avett fans, but I'm hoping it turns at least a couple of you on who aren't familiar to the Avett Brothers. First night, I should say this was a 3-night stay at Wolf Trap. So unfortunately, I couldn't make Thursday night because of work, but Friday I was able to get up there. It's about 3.5 hours from my apartment. Stayed the night, and then saw them again Saturday after exploring DC Saturday morning and afternoon. So Friday night, the opener was actually Seth Avett, who has an album out called Seth Avett Sings Greg Brown. Wonderful record. There's Seth. A lot of this was recorded kind of at home / on the road. Greg Brown is a singer-songwriter. I did not really know Greg Brown until this album, but he's actually married to Iris Dement, who is a singer-songwriter, a big-time collaborator of John Prine, who actually opened the second night. But Seth played a lot of songs from this album, a couple of other solo cuts. He's got a few solo albums out, but he said that was only the fourth time that he's ever performed a solo set because he's played with his brother Scott for so many years since they were kids. But first night, opened up with a fantastic kind of a barn burner of a song called Satan Pulls the Strings, very string heavy. They have a cellist named Joe Kwan and a fiddle player named Tanya Elizabeth, and they kind of kick it off. Some great, just fantastic instrumentation. Their bass player, Bob Crawford, hitting a mean slap bass during the latter half of the song. Just a great song. Then they went right into one of my all-time favorite songs ever. It's a song called Morning Song. It's just one of those great, beautiful ballads, great piano. Their sister Bonnie Avett played piano in the band, and this great line of even though I know there's hope in every morning song, I have to find that melody alone. And then they get the audience to everybody singing along and have to find that melody alone. It's just a beautiful, beautiful song. Then they went to Distraction 74, which is a great early Avett song with some minor lead vocals from the bassist Bob Crawford. Again, just some great stuff. I mean, both nights they did the song Head Full of Doubt, Road Full of Promise, which is, I think, currently in some sort of insurance commercial. It's like, there was a dream, and one day I did see it, like a bird in a cage. I broke in and demanded somebody free it. It's just a great song. Again, heavy strings, great, drumming, electric guitar played by Seth, And they did a song that I've never seen them do live, which is a song called Smithsonian off of their album True Sadness, which I've got right here actually. True Sadness, which came out in 2016, and it's got a fantastic. Obviously, we're in DC, the DC area, so Smithsonian is very fitting. Kind of a John Prine type song. Just I could have heard John Prine do it. Um, then Scott came out solo and did his kind of signature track called "Murder in the City," which, if you watch any of my live streams, I often end my little mini sets with "Murder in the City." Just a beautiful song with the fantastic closing line. Always remember, there is nothing worth sharing like a love that let us share our name. Beautiful. Tanya Elizabeth, the fiddle player, she always kind of has like a solo spot where she just really goes to town on the violin. Just fantastic. Locked Up was another song. February 7, one of my all-time favorite songs from The Carpenter. Laundry Room, which they did both nights, which is a crowd favorite because it kind of goes into like this bluegrassy almost breakdown at the end with the audience just clapping along. Just a fantastic song to hear live. Then they kind of go into something similar with I Killed Sally's Lover, which is another bluegrassy kind of song, a deeper cut. Talk on Indolence, Long Story Short, which is again a fantastic track. I do that one live as well. I do it when I play quite a bit. So just a lot of lyrics. That's from Scott. And they finished that first night set with Ain't No Man, which is a very bass heavy song. They always play that song live. It's really just bass and drums, and then everybody else singing guitar. Singing the lyrics. And then they finished with another track from, actually the last three tracks were all from True Sadness. So they finished with Ain't No Man, then they came out for the encore with May It Last, which is the last track on this album. And then a beautiful song by Seth, which is their go-to closer these days, called No Hard Feelings. Just fantastic song. It was written in the wake of his first marriage, kind of falling apart. So it's very, very emotional. It's just a beautiful song. But it ends with hope, where he sings, I have no enemies. And then they just keep repeating, I have no enemies. Just beautiful. So then, that closed the show. I'm on cloud nine. Just really, looking forward to what's next the next day. So anyway, next day, Saturday, I'm in DC. I spent all day in DC doing all the touristy stuff. Take the train back and head back to Wolf Trap for night 2, which is night 3 of their little 3-day stint there. They open with a song that they often do called Black Mountain Rag. And I should also say really quick, Iris Dement opened up. It was fantastic. She said something very touching where she said the last time she was at Wolf Trap was with her good friend John Prine, who of course died during COVID. And like I said, they've sang together for many years on several tracks. But she was great. Black Mountain Rag open. It's an instrumental kind of bluegrassy tune. And then they open with Open Ended Life, which is the first track off of their album Magpie and the Dandelion, one of my favorites. Shame is another cut from Emotionalism. This record, just absolutely fantastic. It's the second track, one of my favorite Avett Brothers albums. They do Die Die Die, which is the opening track from Emotionalism, which is a fantastic cut. You can try to swim the sea, but you can try to hold the key. It's just a fantastic track. Then they'd go to High Steppin', which is from their most recent full-length album called Closer Than Together, with Seth kind of has this little spoken word intro. Kind of like a middle 8, where he says, there's hope for sure, and then everybody cheers, because of all the terrible things that are happening in the world that bring him down. He then says, but there's hope for sure. And then they go into Head Full of Doubt, Road Full of Promise again, just like the night before. Who Will I Hold, which is also from Closer Than Together, a beautiful track by Scott, one that I've never heard live by them. Please Pardon Yourself is another one. After that, then they do Give Me a Kiss, which is a very early Avett cut from, what's it from? It's from, shoot, I can't remember the name of the Carolina Jubilee. So, very cool to hear that live. The Ballad of Love and Hate. Oh, fantastic track. one that I play live all the time. Emotionalism. It's just about these two characters, love and hate, you know, obviously personified. Hate's going out binging all night long. Love is coming back to hate to kind of comfort him, that she's been gone for a while on this trip, and she comes back, finds that he's been drunk, he's been drinking, he's been, you know, cutting people down, and then he kind of stumbles into the kitchen, when Love is already there waiting for him, and she, you know, he says, you know, I'm sorry. It's just a beautiful track. Check out the Ballad of Love and Hate. Laundry Room again, Talk on Indolence, And It Spread, and then another deep cut called Rejects in the Attic, which was written as a non-album cut around the time that True Sadness came out. Actually, a couple years before, I believe. One of my favorites. I've heard it live one other time. Then they did one of their signature tunes, I Am Loving You. Just a beautiful track. It's one that I do live as well, quite a bit. Then they go Ain't No Man again. I Go to My Heart. Beautiful track from their most recent release, which is called The Third Gleam. Again, a song that I've never heard them do live. That was kind of their COVID release. Then they did a song called C-Sections and Railway Trestles, which is a song Seth wrote about his son when he was born, and kind of told a funny story. His son is now 8 years old, and he was kind of joking, you know, how they'll be singing the song in 40 years, and, you know, talking about, you know, his son being, you know, 48 years old, and kind of saying, like, you know, oh, there's dad singing the song about, you know, me being born again. And just, it was just a funny little anecdote. Then Just Scott and Tanya Elizabeth, the fiddle player, came out and they did the song Groundhog, which is a Doc Watson track. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Then they did the song True Sadness from the True Sadness record. Kind of acoustic. They didn't have the drummer, and they didn't have Bonnie on the piano, so very much acoustic. Then they did The Clearness Is Gone, which is the final track from Magpie and the Dandelion. Great electric guitar by Seth. Slight Figure of Speech from I Am Loving You, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. Then they closed with a song from this record right here. This is The First Gleam that came out 2005 or so, 2006, something like that. Just beautiful by Scott. I mean, and this beautiful, like, classical guitar playing by Seth, just beautiful. That was just like not expected that they would do that song. And then they came out, they did the traditional song called, during the encore, Till the End of the World Rolls Round. Beautiful. And then they closed again with No Hard Feelings. So if you don't know the Avett Brothers, I highly, highly, highly recommend you check these guys out. If you like, you know, great songwriting, great, you know, some fast-paced songs, especially on the early records, kind of with a punk edge. Then they also moved into some beautiful songwriting, production with Rick Rubin, who they're still signed with on American Records. And I cannot recommend Scott and Seth Avett enough. So please, please, please check out the Avett Brothers. It was a fantastic weekend, and it just makes me want to go see them a few more times. So there you go, everybody. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Be good. Take care. Bye now.